Hello
Chickenfoot
there.
Podcast,
All right.
live and ready to rock and roll. My name is Judah Buddha. Go
I'm
ahead.
Arthur Spooner.
Did you want to host this? What's going on?
So we usually open up with a joke. But today, I think, Judah, you know a little bit. Sometimes I've dabbled in writing poems and poetry. You know, and I wrote a few here. And I had a friend from seminary who we would kind of make these jokey poems, and it stopped, and then all of a sudden he just sent me a random one in the mail.
Okay.
So I thought it'd be humorous. I don't. You have to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 how funny you think it is.
Okay.
There's some inside joke stuff, but all right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Dear Mr. Consumer, wish I found you sooner. I've been looking for you since you're late. There are different ways to pay. Please send $214 by May 15th or service will be disconnected. Daryl from Comcast. So Daryl is hilarious. I'm telling you, he's always sending these letters and stuff. You know, I'm like, you're a kidder. I don't owe you any money. Oh man, good old Daryl. You know.
Oh, that's funny, man. That's funny. Daryl from
Good
Comcast.
old Daryl from Comcast. He's always got something funny to say.
All right, so hey, that was good. I like that intro. We've talked a little bit about sitcoms. Today I wanted to talk about sitcoms versus mockumentary coms. Oops, I gotta change our branding there. What the mother? That's not the right color. So, you know what I mean when I say mockumentary?
Yeah, like The Office or Brooklyn Nine-Nine or Parks and Recreation or the original. Where they're like, they look like they're sitting for interviews for a reality TV show kind of thing.
Do they? So, okay, let's name them. So it's the first one to me, I think had to be Arrested Development. Or The Office. I guess The Office came first. The Office, well, The Office British came first.
Mm-hmm.
Then The Office.
Arrested Development.
Parks and Rec.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
So Brooklyn Nine-Nine, did they talk to the camera?
I think they do. They don't do as many like one-off screens where they're doing an interview, but they do that. I remember that's how you described it to me, and then I watched an episode or two.
Yeah.
It's like they maybe another way is that the camera is not invisible. Maybe that's another
the
way.
Camera is. That's a good way of putting it.
The people are aware of the camera.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a better way of doing it, because Arrested Development, they're not really. I mean,
they don't ever talk to the camera. They do look at the camera.
Yeah. So. And you know what? I wonder if Wonder Years
might be the very first. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There have been some older ones. What about those ones with what is it called? The Lizard Group. They did Reno 911.
Oh yeah.
That was
they're another one. Yeah, it's like a mockumentary of cops.
Yeah. So my contention is that things like, so I got into a big debate on Facebook, Office versus Friends, and obviously The Office is much funnier, but I was trying to argue a little bit. Everybody was saying that Friends was DFL, was dead freaking last, and I just don't think so. I think Friends
dead last
is funny. Yes, yeah. People were saying that Friends. Now these were all my brothers, mostly my brother's age, young men who. So when Friends came out, they were like 12 or something, 10. So my contention was that it's a difference of generation.
Well, we got Rico in the chat.
What up, Rico?
So
We should have him on.
We should have him on. He's always, and he definitely would jump in on this conversation because I think we've had it with him before. Or at least I think I did. The difference between sitcom and mockumentaries.
A mockumentary com.
Yeah. Because Wonder Years, I think, fits on there.
I think you're right because he's narrating.
He's narrating. Yeah. And so and the screen will stop and he'll kind of give like his little spiel, you know?
Yeah, he will talk to the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He'll talk to the audience.
He didn't do it in like a green room sense like they did in The Office where they'd be like, I never liked it. You know, so it's fascinating because the people were saying that so what does he say? He says, "What's up? What's up?" And then he said, "Yes, yes to what? We've had this discussion."
Yeah, I think so.
So the people against me were saying that Friends was a bunch of like nobody could identify with them, and the only reason.
So when you say dead last, you mean as in like worst?
They don't believe
show?
that Friends. Yeah, that Friends was a funny comedy at a show at all.
Oh, you have to like sitcoms to like Friends because I never really got into Friends, and once I started watching The Office, it was like sitcoms. I was noticing really what a sitcom really is. And like it has the canned laughter. Yes. It's like all that kind of stuff. And then so I was like kind of like I don't like any sitcoms. And the big one that was like there was The Big Bang Theory.
Right. They were the ones who continued to garner interest.
Yeah. And so for me to watch Friends is to go back and watch it. And so I'm watching it after I've already like turned the corner on sitcoms. You know, and I can't watch it. So I can see how it's not funny, but there's a lot of people that love it.
Well, what I've noticed is mostly women. It's there's something about it that is more conducive to the proclivities of women. I like it a lot. I think it's funny. I don't know if I identify with the characters, but I find Joey and Chandler to be super funny.
Yeah.
And I love to hate, what's his name? Who's the tall guy? Schwimmer, his character.
Oh, yeah.
And the women are beautiful and funny, you know? It's like, how could you say that it's not they were anti-Friends. I think, and their point was that it was a bunch of yuppies, self-involved, nobody could like these people, but I said, like, you could use that against... Oh, and then it was not self-aware that the show tried to make these people look...
Ross. That's his name is Ross.
Yeah, Ross.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of the appeal and the essence of a sitcom is that it's not real. It's not self-aware. It's an escapism. You know, from the beginning of sitcoms, like Leave It to Beaver and all this kind of stuff. It's like the ideal world or a fake world, escapism kind of thing. It's not meant to be real, you know? And, you know, it kind of goes back to, to me, I think you and I had this discussion about movies where they always have to have a romantic interest. But it seems to me that some of the most popular shows it's about friends, and the romantic interest is like a kind of like a sideline or later on. So even like Everybody Loves Raymond, they're married, but it's like it's not a romance falling in love story. It's like they're already married and they're like friends. You know what I mean? But I think that that's what it's about, is this escapism from the reality of life. And you've got the idealness of friends. You know, I mean, what would be the best part of having friends? Living right across the hall. You can hang out at a coffee shop all the time, and you're spending most of the time with each other, and you make enough money where you're not worried about bills and stuff, and you can travel and you could do all that kind of stuff. It just has all the enjoyment of what you want from relationships without any of the reality of it. That's what I think the appeal is for sitcoms.
Absolutely. So Jim Pickett, Dr. Jim says, oh, where'd he go? Oh, he says, for me, Friends was great because it took place when the characters were entering the professional world and aired when I was at the same point in my life. Oh, that's interesting. I thought about them when I was, of course, it had been out a while. Oh, let's see. When did it come out, I wonder? Friends. But I think the taboo too, I talked about how it really sort of pushed the envelope. It was one of the first shows to, instead of just showing a wholesome family or even a grubby family like Roseanne, it showed single people and single people's difficulties with relationship and friendship. And people want to denigrate that and say that it was I don't know, dumb or selfish. They were selfish, unlikable people. But I thought it was fascinating to see the will they not, between Ross and Rachel. I liked it. I liked the tension between, there was some sexual tension, but at the same point there was this necessity to keep things on a certain level so that they could live around each other and be near each other.
Yeah. As Rico was saying, it's just what life was like in the 90s. And that's what I liked about, the 90s is it was kind of like, I don't know, it was TV was lighthearted. Music, on the other hand, I think was a little bit more intense because you had grunge and gangster rap and stuff. But with TV was still kind of fun and lighthearted, and and that was the end of a decade. Yeah. I mean, and that also is also before 9/11. I think 9/11 made things kind of a little bit more real. Like the fantasy of just kind of the day-to-day monotonous living is a pre 9/11 thing.
What did 9/11 have to do with that?
Well, 9/11, I think things just got serious.
It's interesting. It aired up until 94. So that
2004.
Was or 2004.
Yeah, to May to 2004. That's what you have on there.
So about 3 years after 9/11, it was still going on.
I just think that it was 9/11 just made things a little bit more intense and real, and it's sort of like what your friends are saying, that it's like it's not a self-aware, and I think that that's kind of like what we are about now is podcasts, reality shows. It's about authentic realness that's coming through, and that's kind of what the mockumentaries do. If you give you a sense of the realness of work life without the totality of it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because somebody, when I was talking about this debate I was having, somebody brought up Schitt's Creek or something.
Okay, yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have.
So I haven't seen it, but I've noticed that it was by the same guy who basically, he took that mockumentary thing to the nth level with Waiting for Godot and those kind of movies, where it's like you're following this group of people and it's almost like behind the scenes. You get to see, but it's just total absurdity and comedy.
Yeah. It's if anybody doesn't know, it's these rich people who lose everything. Actually, everything was stolen from them from their accountant. And as a joke, the dad bought this small town called Schitt's Creek. but that's the only property that they own left. So they move out and they're stuck in Schitt's Creek. You know what I mean? They're stuck in Schitt's Creek.
Up the creek.
Yeah. And so they've got these, and so the family is just like this over the top kind of rich people, snooty, trying to live in a rednecky everyman town. Okay. And that's the humor of it. It's pretty funny, but it Catherine O'Hara's in it, and Levy, what's his name?
Levy,
Levy.
Yeah.
And his son plays his son. So his son in real life plays his
real life son.
Yeah. And his real life daughter is in there too, but she doesn't play the daughter.
Eugene Levy.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, that's fascinating. Here's a little.
You got a clip?
No, I've got the little. So it says that it's a. Let's go ahead and just put it on there. So it says that it is a Canadian. It has like a little money sign next to the Schitt's Creek.
Yeah. I think they do that because it. And not only that, but I remember seeing an interview with Eugene Levy on Colbert. And every time they say Schitt's Creek, they had to bring the label up to show that they're not saying the curse word, but they're saying the title of the show.
That's awesome. It's by Not a Real Company Productions. So I think that's the same guys. I'm just guessing.
Well, his son is the one who had the idea. And he brought it up, and they started it. Yeah.
I was assuming that it was from the same guy who did Waiting for Godot.
He might be the same. He might have worked on there as well.
A Mighty Wind,
Yeah.
Because it's the same actors.
Now,
Catherine O'Hara.
Maybe. Well, and they also were in what's that movie about pets? Best in Show.
Yeah,
and that's kind of like a mockumentary.
That's the same too. By the same guy. Yeah. Waiting for Godot. Yeah.
And so I guess the question is, going forward.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to go back to sitcoms?
Oh no.
Or
no
mockumentaries, or it's going to be a whole new thing?
It could be a whole new thing. You know what came out again? One of these mockumentaries that was hugely popular was the Larry David show. What was it called?
Yeah, it was on HBO.
Yeah, Larry David show.
Yeah, that was another one, and that was like he was playing himself.
Yeah,
like a part of himself. Yeah.
So people still see, the thing that bothers me is they still label these things Curb Your Enthusiasm. They still label them sitcoms, but there's no way in hell that that's a sitcom. There's, a sitcom to me needs to have, it always comes back to a room with a couch. There's a laugh track. It surrounds one nuclear family, or one family, a group of people like friends. Whereas the mockumentary follows different what do you call veins of relationships and different side characters, and has usually it has a whole group of different little worlds that are colliding.
Yeah.
It's not
also
just one.
It also has to be a comedy. There's no drama sitcoms. At least not. I mean, that would be a soap opera. You know what I mean? It has to be a comedy. And now a lot of comedies are like, Rick and Morty, they're animated. There's no laugh track. It's just direct from the script of them acting right into your home. You know what I mean? As opposed to a live studio audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Waiting for Guffman?
Waiting for Guffman. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Not Waiting for Godot. Waiting for Guffman. Yes. Waiting for Guffman. I'm sorry.
How You Met Your Mother. Is that a comedy sitcom?
That would be a sitcom, yeah.
But it's also kind of a mockumentary because doesn't he
You're
have
right,
like a
there's
commentary?
A voiceover. Yeah.
It's like a mixing of the two.
Yeah, that kind of mixes the two. But they have a laugh track, and they're always, they always come back to the couch, the living room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's like the Cosby Show. The Cosby Show, I think, is one of the most well known. But you're right, Leave It to Beaver. That's a sitcom, and Dick Van Dyke Show. That was probably one of the first ones.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no. What was the one with Lucy?
I Love Lucy.
I Love Lucy was the first.
Yeah.
First sitcom.
Which one's the Lucy one? In The Honeymooners. Remember The Honeymooners?
Oh yeah. I wonder which came out first.
I don't know. All right. Well, we're hitting the last 10 minutes. So
leave in the comments section below whether or not you think there's a huge difference between the mockumentary comms and the sitcoms.
Rico says yes.
Oh.
So, all right, I got a story for you. This one
here we go.
is, I don't know if I ever told you this one. So it was me and my brother and my sister-in-law, who was my sister-in-law at the time, and my aunt were sitting watching TV. And we're flipping through the channels, and we came across this fundraiser, local access TV, where they're like, call in. And, and then people in the background are picking up the phone and, donate, whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So my aunt was saying she did that before. And she was saying that what they tell them to do is just to pick up the phone, pretend like people are calling, just so it seems like everyone's calling, so people will want to call in. My brother's like, yeah. So he decides to dial in and he calls, and it picks up, and my brother's like, that's him. So like he points at the guy on the TV who picks up the phone, who's talking to him and we're watching, and the guy's like, hello, how much you want to do? My brother's like, it's him. And so my brother's like, I don't really want to donate. I just want to see if I can get on TV. And he hangs up, and then the guy goes, he talks to his friend on the side, and we die laughing because we're watching him react in real time to we got on TV. We're laughing hilariously. And so he just turns to the guy next to him. He's like, oh, you're on the phone.
Douchey move, man. That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So I guess that unless I can't think of one funny story like that.
Well, I got another story that I thought about. It's kind of has to do with TV as well, and has to do with my mom, Mother's Day. So,
hey,
what's this? We used to call and hang up to see if we could get them to shake.
Oh, to shake their head in reaction.
Oh yeah. Shake their head, yeah.
That's funny.
So I don't know if I told you this one either. My mom being on the Donahue show.
No.
So, and I've been trying to find this episode.
Okay.
So I was just talking to my uncle this morning.
She was on Donahue.
She was on Donahue, and so I try to locate when, because he was like 25 years on TV. You know what I mean? It started from like the late 70s and it went all the way, to the mid 90s or something. Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many shows to try to locate this episode. Right. Anyways, so I was a little kid and we were living in Arizona. Okay. And my mom flew back to visit my aunt and my uncle. And as a, just visiting, they got tickets to the Donahue show. Okay. And if anyone doesn't know, it's like Oprah and, like Maury and stuff, but it was less, like Maury, like 100,000%. This is not your dad thing. It was like real talk show where they would have real guests and they would talk. And so
it was pretty lighthearted. It
yeah.
wasn't...
Well, he talked about he'd have like KKK members. It was pretty intense. It was pretty intense.
There was no fight. It wasn't like, what was that? What's that show?
Geraldo, where they threw the chair,
Geraldo. Right? Yeah.
And he busted him in the face. But they would have arguments and stuff like that. Anyways, so the episode was about daughters and mothers not getting along. Okay. So, and my mom, she told us to watch. So she was going to try to ask a question and get on air. And so we're just sitting there waiting for little kids, and we're recording it. And so my mom's raising her hand, and Donahue runs up the aisle, shoots up there, and he puts the microphone, because my mom's like sitting over here, and he puts the microphone in to the lady across the aisle. And so the lady asks a question and sits down, and then he quickly shoots over to my mom, puts a microphone in her face, and she forgets everything. She forgot her question. So she says, I think you have to be friends with someone before you can love them first. And he goes, okay. And then just like, we just like died laughing. We just died laughing. And so it's recorded on the VCR. And so we just like had it set. So when my mom came back, we were like playing it over and over and over again. And then magically the tape just disappears. We can't find it anymore. My mom got tired of it, so she got rid of the tape. But for years, it'd be like, you have to be somebody's friend before you can love them first. And then you can see her sit down and turn to my grandmother and be like, I forgot what I was going to say.
That's hilarious. Oh man, that's a good one.
Yeah.
You guys often, so that was a big theme in your family growing up, was ragging on each other, right?
Yeah. We would always like dog pile on each other sometimes and tease each other. That's just the way it just kind of roams around, Yeah. Goes around the room.
What goes around comes around. Well, that does it for another episode of Chickenfoot Podcast. I was actually going to wear my Chickenfoot shirt, and I forgot today.
Oh.
Man.
Yeah.
I saw your text and I ran over here. But next time, I'll wear my Chickenfoot shirt. We're actually going to have merchandise eventually. So we'll have a Chickenfoot shirt you can buy.
We'll have real chicken feet for keychains.
Yeah. It'll only be $1,000 a shirt. So,
Judah,
my aunt is on.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Aunt Joe. Yeah, I love Aunt Joe. Okay, well, unless there's anything else, my name is Judah Buddha.
I'm Arthur Spooner. 32 Skidoo.
Zapazoo.